Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Customers Bank, Aerial Property Advisors, Dime Community Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance. Additional funding has been provided by AKA Hotels Corman Communities, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, AVR Realty Company, Avison Young, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citizens Bank, Cohen Equities, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Connect One Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization, Handro Properties, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Pulcinelli, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Knackle Group at Cushman & Wakefield, the Meringoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
Family businesses. Whoa, tough place to work. You know, they sibling rivalries, partnerships, family, wife, spouse, aunt, uncle, all this. How many family businesses survive to a second, to a third, to a fourth, and even to a fifth generation? Tough topic. So today I've assembled some younger members of a family businesses to discuss the challenges and opportunities that they have working in their family business. My guests today include James Riso, who's a principal at the Briarwood organization and also a principal at A. Riso and Sons, the contracting company. A company that's now having the fifth generation, correct?
Correct.
Jessica Sherman, who is a project manager at Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, and Clinton Management, or also under the Douglaston companies, who is the second generation of a business. Carolyn Malinsky, who is truly, I'm not sure if it's the first generation or the second generation now, you look at it, of a family business, but the daughter of somebody who came from a family business. And last but not least, Spencer Levine, who is the second or third, if we want to look at Grandpa Zader over there, of a family business, who's with the RAL companies. So how do you get involved with a family business? You were saying prior to the taping, you were like 12 years of age. You joined a family business, which at that time was the third generation? Great-grandpa started it?
Yeah, my father was the third generation. I'm the fourth generation.
Okay. So, but you, when you were growing up, you used to go to the job sites with your dad.
Yeah, I kind of knew from day one I was going to get into the business. My father would bring me to the job at 8, 9 years old. He put a shovel in my hand at 12. Right away after high school, I knew I was going to go to the New York Institute of Technology, got my degree. The summers, I would be a laborer. You know, I started from the ground up. Then first a handyman, then a super, and then I kind of went into the office and became management, project management, and then just kind of took on the role. My father kind of took a step back.
Now, are you an only child?
No, I have 3 sisters. They all had an opportunity to join. 2 of them wanted to just be housewives. Not just be housewives, but be housewives. And my older sister is in the business, and she kind of takes care of clerical and stuff like that. We're very hands-on. We're not a huge company, but we're chief cook and bottle washers. You know, one day I might be at a bank meeting, and the next day I might have a wrench in my hand because a tenant's complaining.
How did your mother take it that when you were joining the family business?
I felt that was always understood, like that was what I was going to do.
So,
they didn't force me into it, though.
Okay, but
having said that,
relating to that, let's go to Jessica. Your father started this business about 35 years ago when he was finishing architectural school at night. How was, when you were growing up at the table, let's say the kitchen table, was the business the subject of conversation?
That's a great question. We definitely talked about the business a lot, but it wasn't the only thing we talked about. It was just kind of always there, something that was part of our family and our culture and what we did. Whenever we came to the city, we were stopping at a job site. He was bringing us around to see a project he worked on as a contractor or tell us an interesting story about offices he worked on 20 years prior. So it really developed in all of us a passion for urban development, for seeing a building go up.
You're the middle child, correct?
Yeah.
But now your brother's in the business. Mm-hmm. But both you and your brother started with other jobs beforehand, before you came into the business. How important do you think that was to help you evolve and to grow in the business?
I think that was really important. My brother worked more in the real estate finance side, and I worked more in the public sector. And for both of us, I think our experiences make us even better at our jobs today. For me in particular, I think coming into a family business, which has a very different set of dynamics if you're part of that family than working elsewhere, having had the experience of reporting to people that weren't my relatives and working with, you know, lots of different colleagues that I wasn't related to, helps me in my role in this family business to think about the best way to communicate with my family member and with others, to consider how some of our colleagues who aren't part of the family business might consider certain interactions, certain decisions.
I've always found a lot of people who work in family businesses have friends who are in family businesses, right?
Mm-hmm. My brother-in-law is in the real estate business, and I actually left my business for a year or 2 and went to work for him, which kind of helped me out. And I actually left and worked for some of my subcontractors too. I worked for a carpenter contractor for a year, just to get the experience.
But I think what you're saying, and it's important, is I think in your growth and your development, if you talk to people who are other family businesses, you have a bonding, as they would
Definitely.
say. Now, we were saying before that you have this family business. This is like a bonding since you were born, okay?
Yeah. In growing up in our house, there was very little separation between business and family. And I think
and
that's...
also the Malinsky family.
And the Malinsky
Right.
family. And the kind of, it all grew out of a supermarket.
We would go to supermarket openings pretty much every weekend, and we'd be together, my siblings, his siblings.
Let's talk about your grandparents. Now, your great-grandmother, Julia,
parents.
okay, really started, you know, her husband started Waldbaum's when they had 2 stores, okay? Then your grandfather, Ira, really built the chain to what it was, and then your father worked for them later on.
And all of Ira's children, plus
Okay.
my father, who married into the family.
So he wanted everybody in the family business.
Yes, it was all 5 of his children, he considered them.
How difficult was it to be with your cousins?
We loved it. We had the best time. I think I have like a terrific childhood. Spencer would tell you that. We learned a lot about how a family works together.
But
and
you see, you were in a
respecting.
different type of family business than the construction business today, okay? You were in a retail business where, you know, it could have been, it was a 24-hour business. It was always,
yes.
it was always that way, you know. We could always find a job cutting locks, okay? No, or putting a shelf together, you know, or shelving food or something like that, or being a cashier. I was a very good cashier, not good in the locks working at Walbaum's.
We were very good in the bakery department.
Let's say your grandfather had been alive and he hadn't sold the business. It was a public company, but the company was sold to Walbaum's. Do you think you would have gone into that family business?
I'm not sure because it wasn't my experience, but I loved how my family was always together and they worked together, and then we would have Shabbat dinner together and go on vacations together. So there was a real love and trust amongst everybody that I think that would be something as an adult I would want for my own life.
Now, you didn't go, when you went into the family business, let's say 13 years ago, you had a job also. You were in the public sector. You had a different time. You were in entertainment.
Right. My parents always believed that their children should go out into the world after they were educated and have experiences, and I was interested in the entertainment business, so I did that for several years. And then my father was starting this new real estate business, and he felt that it was something that I could be an asset to him and that I would enjoy. I spent the first 3 years just not saying a word, following him around to every meeting of every different aspect. And I learned so much. My dad is a great teacher.
That was your training ground.
He's the best teacher.
Okay, that was, you know, as we would say, that was your undergraduate training. Then when you took the job, you took your graduate degrees. And your graduate degree was working full-time with your dad. Now, your family, you know, it was really Grandpa. Do you remember your
Yeah,
grandpa?
I do.
Because he was the painting business.
He was in the painting business, but I think that, you know, he was very supportive of everything that my father ever wanted to do and endeavor into. And, you know, we hear the stories of how my father was the great architect. And that's how he ended up working with Walbaum's and developing these shopping centers. And we spent the philosophies that and kind of just way of being that my grandfather had, my father very much lives those today. And it's very much the basis of what my two siblings are very much about. There's something to learn from everyone, which was something that my grandfather felt very strongly about. You know, you walk into a room, I mentioned before that titles are not necessarily our thing at RAL. But, you know, there's something to learn from the laborer who's sweeping. There's something to learn from the painter up on the ladder. Right. There's something to learn from the guy cutting locks. Basically, it's what's made us.
Now, there are two of you in the business right now. Your brother was in the business, but he went to a different aspect of real estate. What about cousins, relatives, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws in the business?
My brother-in-law is in the business as well with us, and I very much enjoy working with him. I think what makes us successful in that way is that we all recognize our strengths. I'm not the numbers business guy, although I'm spending a lot of time learning it, and I'm like Carolyn, I spend a lot of time following people and learning about it and listening and asking questions. That is really my brother-in-law's forte. He's very good at acquisitions, finance, and he works with a great team at our company to do such. I really focus, my background is in design and construction, so I focus on the urban planning, the design, the liaising between operations, design, construction, and I think I think we all work together and all seek each other's input, but at the same time we also understand and appreciate each other's strengths and weaknesses.
So here's the question, you know, what do you feel are some of the challenges that you might hold working with your father, your father, your father, your uncle, okay? Sometimes people say it's a different world today. It's a different environment. We have, you know, some people, I hate to say, when you get older, they don't want to develop as much. Certain people want to cut back and maybe say, you know, oh, I really want to. knowing everybody over here, all of your fathers and all of your uncles are still interested in growing a business. They're not retiring, okay?
No, they're never
Okay,
retiring.
so they're not retiring. It's wonderful to love some people, but there are challenges.
I think you have to balance.
Oh, sorry.
You know, if you're working with colleagues versus, you know, a family member, there's different ways of communicating where you might say things a certain way to a colleague. You're going to have, you know, a holiday dinner with that person that weekend. So you have to kind of hold back and really communicate in different ways.
I think there are both external and internal challenges of working in a family business. I think there's a perception from the outside in some scenarios where, oh, you went into the family business. It was kind of the, you know, it may have been the easy way out. In reality, I think there's a sense of pride and ownership, even when it's a third-party project, you know, it's something owner's rep work or something that we're doing, that there's a, being that, you know, the name is behind it, our name is behind it, there's this pride and ownership that you have that is, it's not the easy way out.
I think you work harder.
Yeah,
the fact that you're in a family business. I mean, I used to work so much harder than the people that we would hire that were doing the same task as me, just to push them along.
Well, we're working for a common goal, which is what I like. Like, we're all working for our future. I trust my father and my brother more than I trust anybody in the whole world.
Right.
But I think that extends also, in our case, we have, you know, my father always says that his greatest investment has been in his people, and that his people encompasses both family and kind of extended family.
But here's that comment about extended family. How difficult is it to retain extended family or people who work in a business when they think it's a family business, or they know it's a family business, and they believe that their opportunities might be limited? I mean, your company is larger today than it was over the last couple of years. You do have an uncle in the business, but you have a lot of people who have been with Levine Builders Douglaston for, let's say, 20 years, and you also have the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to realize that there's lots of ways for people to grow within a family business. And Ben and I have a lot of the skills that our companies will need going forward. But there's also a lot of employees who are indispensable, that their knowledge of our projects, their outside experience, that we all value immensely. And it would be short-sighted of any of us to think that just us and our relatives would be able to do everything our company does. There's, particularly as we grow.
I mean, I have a story that took place about 8 years ago. I was with a company, I was with Apollo, and I went up to meet with a family who at that time was having difficulties with the recession doing a construction job. And my boss was taken, he was asked to leave the room to be with the son of this real estate guy, they were father-son partners. And basically, I said to Richard said to me, "You want me to tell you what he said to me?" I said, "Sure." He said, "My father doesn't run the company. I run it. Listen to me." You know, I was like, oh, this is a company, and this person had grown up through the ranks. He may have done this, but, you know, he was basically saying, my father doesn't understand the business. And we've seen that in the real estate industry and certain other industries, you know, difficulties.
That's an important question, because I think one of the most critical factors to success in family business is respect and trust. Mm-hmm. So obviously my dad calls the shots with our family business, but he relies on my brother and I and our other employees.
I think, which is an important factor, what
Absolutely.
you're saying. You know, I think the family business, you have to, the relative or the father or the spouse or the mother or whatever has to be willing to accept your thoughts. Okay, I'm not saying your decision.
We have team meetings where the three of us sit down, we go through each project, we throw out our opinion, whether they match or not, and we come to some
And someone
conclusion.
mentioned before just about sitting around at lunch.
Yeah.
A lot of ideas are shared, and you might not be a part of every project, but you listen, and you know, you may pick up something for your
I think
project.
the discussion about non-family members in a family business, there's plenty of opportunity for growth and success at our business. I mean, the longest standing members of our organization have been there since well before I was born. The youngest person, let's say, in terms of years in the company, I think is some of our architecture staff, which is, I think, 10 years. So I think it's a team. Whether you're a family member or you're a non-family member, there is a common goal. And that, whether it be lunches all together, that's always been a big thing in our company. Just we all sit, we all bounce ideas off together. We all feel it's important that we're all up to speed on what everyone else is doing, because anyone can jump in and fill a void if necessary. But it's that mutual respect and respect for everyone's knowledge base and kind of strengths, weaknesses, understanding where you might be able to chip in and help someone else on another project, even if you're not specifically dealing with that project. But working as a team goes beyond that family structure.
I mean, everybody takes on a role. Like, we're not all stepping over each other and arguing every little decision that has to be made. Vinny's focuses on the running the real estate that we own and making sure everything's leased. I concentrate more on the construction aspect. But we collaborate.
Ira takes care of
it. Even with a structure and a role, and obviously understanding people's strengths and weaknesses so you can grow, I think there's areas where, any of our fathers, uncles, if you're talking about leasing up a new building, they know that you don't go to the New York Times anymore, that there's other areas that we would know more about because of where we stand in relation to most of our renters. So there's ways to value the skill set and the knowledge base that the younger generation's bringing, and there are ways to make sure that through that support and trust, you're helping them transition into the leadership roles that you want. I think you mentioned earlier, like, at the end of the day, the best part about working with your family is that they only have your best interest at heart. Even if you have a fight and you're gonna have to see them at the holiday dinner, you can go in an hour later and it's not like their goals for you have changed or their goals for the company have changed. You know that you're all shooting towards the same point.
We have each other's backs all the time. I never think twice about it.
Now, you have a husband in real estate. You have a wife. Would you want your spouses to join the business one day?
My wife is a teacher in the New York City schools. She's on family leave right now. If she had the skill set, if she wanted to, I think it's something we could definitely talk about. I have no problem with it. I don't think she'd be interested in it.
What about your brother? Is he married?
My brother's married.
Okay, would his wife?
I don't think she would have the interest of interjecting with my father, brother, and I. That would be an interesting dynamic, but if she had something to contribute, I think every one of us would be open to that. We all really get along, big picture family.
Evan loves what he does. He is in the real estate industry, which is great because we can talk about what we do and bounce ideas off one another. I don't see him also, at this point at least, having the interest in joining us, but if he had that desire, he gets along very well with my extended family. I think my brother and my dad would love having him around.
Your dad has extended family in the business. Besides loyal employees who are partners or relationships who've been with him, you have your cousin, you have your uncle. Mm-hmm. So there is that extension. You had your...
I do have a brother-in-law.
You have a brother-in-law in the business, and you have Vinny's grandson.
Vinny's grandson,
right,
my
so,
sister, right.
Right, so you have that situation. Now, I think I broached it briefly, but I didn't get the answer. When you speak to friends who have family business, are they as comfortable as you people are? Because, because as opposed to that story that I told you before.
Yeah, I think that being in a family business is a unique thing, and there is a great network of people, particularly in real estate family businesses. And most people, of course, you're navigating, gaining a new skill set or figuring out what part of the business calls to you the most. But for the most part, I think people have overwhelmingly positive experiences and provide a really great support network in how you approach a certain topic, how you handle the particular issue. So I found that community to be really helpful as I've been developing my career.
So since we really have only one person who may have old enough children to think about it, would you want your children to go into the business?
Well, actually, I didn't get married till I was 41, and I have a 7-year-old daughter.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No.
So in 12 years, I guess, if she wants to get into it, yeah. I'm going to need the young blood.
I have a 7-year-old, almost 7-year-old son. And from the day that he could start playing with trucks, he has talked about the family business. He loves coming to the office, spending time there. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter. She's not quite as interested, but she's more handy than he is, probably.
Boy, great-grandpa and daddy pushed, okay? We know that, Carolyn's father, her grandfather would have, put him in the, in the fur business, okay? But, there was that change with the supermarket world. But I think in general, this generation of family business seemed to continue to strive and grow, and I think it's going to continue that way. And I'd like to thank James, Jessica, Carolyn, and Spencer, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.